Dan Pava. Ruben Mendoza.
Here.
AJ Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty. Can we have the approval of the agenda? Any changes, Jordan?
Chairman, Commissioners, yes. Under 5, new business, Case A will be withdrawn from this agenda. It will reappear at the next meeting. It was improperly noticed to be heard at this meeting.
Okay.
And then on item B, Destiny Romero will not be presenting. Dominic Cisneros will be presenting as case manager.
Okay, thank you. Can we have the approval of the amended agenda?
I'll move to approve as amended.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can we have the approval of the minutes for June 20th, 2024? Any changes? Eric?
No, Mr. Chair.
The minutes still had the July 15th meeting for the next meeting, so we need to change that, which Eric mentioned was to July 18th. That came out in the minutes. So I think those are the only changes. So can we have an approval of the minutes for June 20th, 2024?
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. To the consent agenda, we have case 2024 or 245030 Perry and Sharon Tongate applicants. Can I have a motion to approve? Any discussion on that?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda and that item 245030.
Thank you. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item, case 2024 is tabled. We go to case number 243013, Ramon Martinez, applicant, Ralph Steele, appellant. Can we have the report, Dominic?
Yes, Chair, do you not have a copy of the report?
What was that again?
Do you have a copy of the report?
We saw the, in our packet, we had the report, yes. You want to read it to us?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Chair, Commission members, Dominic J. Cisneros, Building and Development Supervisor with the Growth Management Division. Ralph Steele, appellant, is appealing the Land Use Administrator's decision to approve an open space relocation request by Ramon Martinez, applicant. The Administrator's decision would allow the applicant to file a relocation of open space plat amendment, which would change the location, but not the size, of designated open space on 3 contiguous parcels of land consisting of 12.503 acres, more or less. The properties lie within the residential fringe zoning district. The properties are located at 6 Vista Los Alamos, 10 Vista Los Alamos, and 15 Vista Los Alamos within Township 18 North, Range 9 East, Section 33, Commission District 1, SDA 2. The plat amendment application was submitted on March 25th, 2024. The applicant presented the request documentation needed to apply for a plat amendment and has met all the required SLDC standards set forth in Section 5.4, Land Division, Subdivisions, Exemptions, and other plat reviews. Sections 5.4 and Chapter 7, Sustainable Design Standards for an open space relocation. The applicant has gone through the review process of the county's Building and Development Office and Fire Prevention Office. Those offices have determined the applicant is in compliance with all of Santa Fe County's SLDC and fire prevention requirements. The appellant is appealing the proposed open space relocation for several reasons. The appellant states that the proposed relocation will result in an enormous monolithic building area of approximately 4 acres, clearly intended to accommodate a very large home in commensurate with the surrounding neighborhood. The appellant also states that the northernmost line of the building envelope would increase from approximately 260 feet to 390 feet. This line closely parallels a ridge affording big views of the Jemez Mountains, and we assume the intent of the relocation is to increase the amount of building on that ridge. Placing a large home on the ridge would have a devastating visual effect on the neighborhood. The administrator determined that the relocation of open space on a residential parcel, which relocation does not reduce the amount of the designated open space on the parcel, qualifies as a minor plat change under SLDC 5.4.3.17. So long as the building envelope for the parcel and all development complies with all applicable standards, including standards for setbacks, buffering, terrain management, etc. The applicant received their development order of approval on April 23rd, 2024. The appellant filed his appeal on April 25th, 2024, just 2 days after the applicant received their development order on April 23rd. The appellant is in compliance with SLDC Chapter 4, Section 4.5.2, Appeals of an Administrative Decision of the Administrator, which states that an appeal from the decision of the administrator shall be filed in writing with the administrator within 5 working days of the date of the decision. Staff's recommendation is for denial of the request for an appeal and approval of case 24-3013 for plat amendment, open space relocation subject to the following conditions. Mr. Chair, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, you may.
This report and exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Thank you, and at this time I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of Dominic? I see Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dominic, I wonder if you can look at Exhibit 3 with us. So Exhibit 3, as I understand it, is the originally issued plat for this property, the one done in 2008. And I'm just wondering if this was a standard practice in that time to identify buildable areas. I'm just wondering, why was this included on this plat? I've seen many plats. They do not have buildable areas necessarily delineated unless it's in a requirement of a subdivision. And can you tell me, is this to fulfill some sort of requirement like that?
The requirement that was being fulfilled with the recordation of this plat was the requirement of open space at the time.
Okay, so at the time, the county's open space group indicated that at least 30% of all parcels must be designated as open space. And so this is just a cartoon showing, yes, we meet this 30% by identifying these as buildable areas.
That is correct.
And that's the only question I have at this time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Eric. Now we go to the appellant. Oh, Wendy, yes.
So on the next exhibit, Exhibit 4, so this is the revised, making the buildable area more as one, correct? But there's still open space designated on the plat?
That is correct, and the applicant can speak a little bit more to this, but I believe the initial, revision of the open space was that when it was originally platted, I think it was done more for, contours or terrain, didn't really, lead to, anything that was really comparable. And I think the applicant can speak a little bit more to that, but that is correct. Exhibit 4 is for the proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? If not, is the appellant here? Is that the person we,
Chair, we
Yes.
would sit there and ask that the applicant be next and the appellant would be the last one to speak.
the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Will the applicant step forward, please? Carl?
Mr. Chairman, Carl Summer, on behalf of the applicants who are here with me today, I have Ramon Martinez. He and his husband, Paul Sidebottom, both of them live here. Yeah, I just want to introduce them, then I'll be sworn in. And they're here with me, and they can answer questions specifically, but I'll be as brief as I can. I do. My name is Carl Summer. My address is Post Office Box 2476, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87504. And I have just a packet of photographs I'm going to use, and if I may approach you all and give you a copy.
Thank you, Carl.
Can I get a copy, please?
We're here on a, what I will call, you have us going first, and so I'd just like to characterize the reason we're here is this appeal before you is frivolous. It is baseless. It is not founded in anything founded in the code. Commissioner, you asked, was this standard practice? We've been here a long time. Yes, at the time this was, this first division was made, you had to designate at least 30% of the property open space. And that was at that time and today still subject to being reallocated, removed. I say that because not 1 month ago, I went through this process on a property not too far away, followed all of the county's regulations, purely administrative, and the only standard that they have now with respect to that is that you end up with the same amount of open space and that you meet all of the other new requirements for plats. So now, in doing this, this plat has been brought up to standard in under the new SLDC. This was under the old county code. So what is in front of you today as the applicant's plat has been greatly enhanced in terms of information, accuracy, access. All of those issues are now covered. This has been brought up to code and it complies fully. It is not a discretionary approval. If you comply with the rules, the land use administrator approves it. If you don't comply with the rules, it's not approvable. It's not something you come in and say, well, we like it or we don't. So why are we here? As someone once, I read one of the greatest history books I ever read about the last century was that the theme of the last century is nothing is as it appears. And what you have in front of you is an appeal by the neighbor who says, I'm concerned about the neighborhood. This is going to have a huge impact on the neighborhood. That's not what's going on in this case. Mr. Steele lives next door, built his house a few years ago, right up against this property, on the highest property portion on his lot, as close as he could get to this lot, has been using this property, the neighboring property owned by Paul and by Ramon, for various activities, wood cutting. He's put on the property a labyrinth of rocks, and he's had a backyard. And he doesn't want to have a neighbor back there. And why we're here is he got what he wants, and now he's telling my clients, Paul and Ramon, you can't have what you want if I have anything to say about it. photographs I've given you, I put them in a particular order. That first one on top is standing on Paul and Ramon's property, looking at Mr. Steele's property. His house does not look this direction. He will not see the houses. There are only a couple of windows on this side of it, but you can see what's between him and the building site. He's never going to see the house that's located here. So the impact he's claiming will be on the neighborhood is not going to be an impact on him. The fact of the matter, he's been using this lot and he can't use it anymore. The next picture is looking along his boundary line. His property is his house is to the left in that photograph. And you'll see a bunch of flagstone in a ditch there. That is something he built on Paul and Ramon's property. He encroached there. That's one of the things he's done. The next photograph, and you can see his house is built as close to the top of his property as you can get. The next photograph is the picture of his house from the other side. This is a gentleman who said the impact on the neighborhood is what was important. If you see his house and his guest house, it is a two-story house. It looms over the roadway there. I took this today from there. It looms over the drive in front of it, and it is imposing. It is imposing. So if the concern was about the neighborhood, it certainly isn't evidenced in his house and his construction. The next photograph shows this is looking across his property. His property is in this photograph. This is the driveway up to their garage, to his garage. You can see, I took this photograph to demonstrate, what Mr. Steele did was he put his house as far up the hill as he possibly could. Now, I don't begrudge that. There's no violation of code. There's really no objection. But the stated concern is the impact on the neighborhood. If the impact on the neighborhood was so important, why did he put his house at the top of his lot? Because he wanted to capture the views. Obvious. Why is he complaining about the next door neighbors? The last photograph is right out of the county's GIS map. And this shows where he's been using I've shown the encroachments that are on my client's properties. You see the little labyrinth, you see the ditch, you see the woodworks going on. That's all on my client's property. Can't do that anymore. I will note for you, Mr. Steele had the opportunity to buy this property. Paul and Ramon bought it 2 years ago. Ramon's an architect, Paul's a builder and a realtor. They opened their business here in 2018. Ramon grew up here, went to UNM. They're back here building their lives together. And Mr. Steele had the opportunity to buy this lot. Instead, he used it without buying it, and now he cannot. And his complaint is, oh, well, the neighborhood's going to be affected by some gargantuan house that's going to be built there. That couldn't be farther from the truth. We put in our response to you all what is intended on this property. Paul is a builder, Ramon is an architect. They have designed a house on this property, and we put it in front of you to show the intended use of this property. It is not a mega house, a gargantuan, looming structure, and it will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, as is alleged, or is the stated concern. So as I said, things are not always as they appear. And in this case, what is hypocrisy, rearing its ugly head in an application. Why is that important to you all? Because we're here, and this case, this plat was approved, and permits were ready to be issued on this property for construction in April of this year. It is July. That is May, June, July, and probably if you all won't be able to act on this until a month from now, that'll be another 4 months. Why? Why? It is a waste of our time. It is a waste of your time. and it is frivolous. There is no rule being violated. There is no code being violated. What has been accomplished is an upgrade on this plat as far as the regulations are concerned, and I submit to you that this case should be denied in emphatic terms if possible, and that you send the message not only to Mr. Steele, but to those around him and those who would otherwise come to you and say, hey, we just don't like it. That's not the purpose of this board. That's not the purpose of the code. It is an abuse of the code. It costs people money. And yeah, it'll cost Paul and Ramon money. It's already cost them money. It'll continue to cost them money. But there is a societal cost to that. Every dollar spent on things like this produce nothing. I mean, they pay me, right? But they produce actually nothing in the world. Money spent on this kind of frivolity is a waste of resources in our economy. And I hope you send the message to Mr. Steele and his neighbors and those out there who would use the process to delay and cause expense for the purpose of not allowing somebody to do what they could do. I hope you send that message clearly to Mr. Steele. We would stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions of Mr. Summers? Carl?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Summer, I'm looking at Exhibit 4 still, and I don't know if you have that or Exhibit 3, I'm sorry. It's the survey plat from 2008.
Yes, sir.
And which is the property that Mr. Steele, I think names have changed. Where would his property be in this?
If I may approach and point it out so that you're looking at it the same thing I am, correct?
Yes.
All right, if I may approach. So Mr. Steele's property is right here along this northern boundary of this lot. And this lot on that survey is tract 2A that has an original buildable area square feet. And so his house was built up against that border at the top of his lot.
Okay, so for the rest of the commission members here, where it says Pamela and Tableau's Preston, that's the location?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Summer, you know, I've gone on the county's website many times to look at this, and I know that a lot of times the lines depict the lot, but they're not exact. This blue line that's shown on this picture here?
That is inaccurate insofar as it's located next to the house. The house does not encroach, but those things that I've pointed out with arrows, I wanted to be very specific. Those things are on this lot. You see the little boxes of woodwork there.
Sure.
You see the circular labyrinth and then the ditch that's over there. That is encroaching.
So, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Summer, so the property line is somewhere in between the blue line and those red arrows.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And, you know, at first, the first thing that dawned on me in looking at these pictures is not really a question for you, but I see there's a chimney stack on top of this house that, I mean, that if we're concerned about the views, is very ugly to me anyhow. You know, typically 2 foot above the peak is all that's required by code. And, you know, that appears like it's 6 or 7 feet above, but it seems like if I was very concerned about beauty, I would be looking at that. And then the other question I had, I know you might not have an answer, maybe Mr. Steele will. Looks like there's some sort of silver structure next to the house?
There is. As far as I could discern, that looks like a greenhouse of some kind. It's a large structure that looks like a greenhouse. It looked to me about probably 12 to 14 feet high. I didn't get on the property and look, but 12 to 14 feet high and probably at least 15 feet wide and fairly long.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Summers? If not, I've got a couple of questions. I see that there's 3 contiguous lots. Does that mean there's 3 legal lots of record in that parcel?
There are. The 2008 plat created those 3 lots.
And you're allowed one house for each lot? Is that-
Under the current code, you're allowed a primary dwelling, and if you comply with the accessory dwelling units, you can have a guest house, but they have all the same requirements that you all have run into 1,000 times. They have to be on the same septic tank, same driveway, all of those things. So one primary residence is allowed on these lots, and under the new code, an accessory dwelling unit is allowed.
Okay, and the purpose of relocating the open space, it seems that it's alleged that by relocating the open space, he's going to create a big envelope on one of the lots. Is that what I understand from the exhibits?
The envelope that is buildable remains the same square footage. So before we had X number of square feet of open space and X number of feet of developable area. On this lot, it was 7,500. We still have that. It's just consolidated now in one location, which could have been done originally, but it wasn't, and the code allows you to modify that so long as you keep it the same.
Is that the area where they say there's going to build a mega structure, whatever they think they say they're going to build?
I submit to you, we submitted the plans in our response. You saw what what was planned. If I may, it's this document that was submitted with our letters. Do you have that in your? You can see the house that Ramon and Paul have designed. It's in the same location that the open space allowed originally. It's right there in that area where it shows 7,500 square feet. It's right there. It's the path to that has this open space that kind of encroaches this way. By moving the open space, it provides better access to that same building site. And you can see by their plans, we're not building a mansion, a mega structure. We're building a house that is compatible with just about everything else out there.
You know, I think those are the questions, the other question I had, what about the height of the design of the house?
The county code restricts the height on this lot, I think, I'm not sure if they consider this a limited to 14 feet or 18 feet here or not. Is it 18 feet? There's an 18-foot height limitation on this building site.
And no 2 stories, just 18 feet. That
Just
is
18 feet.
okay, because some of the county is 24 feet. But this area is that what it is, Dominic, 18 feet?
Commission members, Chair, I'd have to look at the terrain to see if there's any slopes that are 50% or more that they're building on. They're restricted to 18 feet. If this is deemed a ridge top, which I haven't looked at yet, then it'd be restricted to 14 feet. But that's something that we would review and look at during the development permit submittal.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it does. It shows the topography, and although this isn't in color, the dark areas on here are 30% grades. So you can see, I can give this to you and you can pass it around if you don't mind.
And what is the square footage of the proposed dwelling?
What is the square footage of the proposed house, roughly? Total 6,500 square feet under roof. Under roof, that's everything.
Mr. Summer,
sir.
the building plans have been submitted to the county and approved. Is that correct?
I think the grading plans have been submitted to the county and approved for this site. The house plans, you do not have a permit for the house plans yet, correct? But you've got the house design, is that right? Yeah. So the construction, the infrastructure has been submitted and prepared for this site.
Okay, thank you.
If no other questions, thank you, Mr. Summers. Is the appellant here? Raise your hand and be sworn in.
Absolutely. I do. Ralph Mitchell Michael Steele, Vietnam combat vet. Santa Fe since 1981, descendant of Sam Pick area and Tom Fiorina. Can I ask the gentleman one question that just said some words?
I think you better just
Okay.
give your
All right. That photograph you're looking at is incorrect. The only thing that's correct about it is you mentioned the chimney, sir? Yeah, correct. It took a few months to get that chimney right with regards to not getting smoke in my house. A lot of work, believe me. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay, I want to make this very short. I don't want to take up much of your time because you have made your decision. I've been here a long time, mental health office in Santa Fe for a while, close to 40 years, a couple of psychiatrists and so forth, but 9/11 caused me to close it down. Anyway, I've been at 28 Luna de Tano since 2018. Been granted this land, built with the building code, never built a house in my entire life. I mean, I didn't build it, but the building, as he kept saying, is up at the highest point of the property. It's within the building envelope and has to be at least 100 feet from the well that's also on my property. Anyway, this was endorsed by the county, so I don't have to tell you anything about this. So that was a classic lie. Everything that he was telling you with regards to the wood, that yes, I had some wood. My wood pile was on that property. I came home one day with regards to the labyrinth and rocks was all over the place. That was moved. And the last thing that was moved a week ago was a ponderosa tree. So I have nothing on these young men's property. Okay? Excuse me for raising my voice, but this is very interesting. Doesn't matter what happens in here. As veterans, we still take care of everybody. We still take care of you. Doesn't matter. As far as the neighborhood, this other thing, I don't have a two-story house. As far as the neighborhood, I've never been in a neighborhood, not just in New Mexico, but anywhere in this country, that people are so warming. First time. It's amazing. This will be the biggest house, 6,500 square feet, that's for sure. Whatever they do with it, bless them. My South Side border is directly impacted by this reorganization that has been approved to being legal. So be it. The gentleman, I accidentally saw one of the gentlemen, Mr. Martinez? Yes. Putting some flags. He was like 15 feet from my front door. Of course I'm going to say something. Who are you? What are you? Couldn't have a conversation. Only thing that came out of that conversation was he's going to be putting a fence around their entire property, which I received a letter from your office saying that he's allowed to have a fence, it's in the county code, it's legal, and it's also, Ralph, you cannot be on this gentleman's property anymore. Even though there's no sign that says no trespassing, but this human being cannot be there. Nowhere, anytime. This is just in reference to the concept of codes in this particular situation, not any particular human being. Before I make this statement here, please. I came from a point in my time where race was separated, white and colored, and it was legal. This is the Carolina Sea Islands. From my perspective, since I'm the only one directly affected by this reorganization plot, this is legal racism. That's all I wanted to share with you.
Well, thank
You've
you,
made your
Mr.
decision.
Steele.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any, stand for questions, please. Do we have any questions of the appellant? Eric?
Mr. Steele, when you purchased your property, are there any what are called restrictive covenants that are separate and apart from requirements of the county? Often when a neighborhood is developed and lots are split up, there will be restrictions that are put on all those lots, and all of the property owners sign it, and further people who buy those properties are bound by them. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand you. I had the opportunity, of course, the neighborhood was so happy of me being in the neighborhood. I ended up on we have a road maintenance committee. We don't have an HOA.
Right.
However, a greenhouse was mentioned on my property. Your office knows that. I went through all the paperwork to get it. I can't make a mistake, people. Okay.
No,
What you
no,
were
so
saying,
my
the only thing that I can address to your response, sir, is when someone's going to build a house, there's an assessment, a home building assessment.
To pitch in for the road, to pitch in for the road or something
Yes,
like that.
correct. Exactly. Exactly.
And so there are no, where I live, there are limitations on where folks can build on their property, and that's in an agreement between the different property holders and all the people in the future who buy that property. But I just want to make clear, there's no such situation in your neighborhood, is that right?
No, sir. The agreement is by the county for at least this area, Cuatro Rancho area. In this area, all the agreements, and of course, I went through all the agreements and met the county codes and whatever to get my home built.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome, sir.
Now, I have a question, Mr. Steele. In your statement, I see that you didn't mention any violations of the Sustainable Land Development Code. You know, that is a basis for granting an appeal, but we didn't see any evidence that the applicant is violating anything in the code. That is what the land use administrator mentioned, and that is what we saw here, and that was Mr. Summers mentioned. There's no violations of any of the codes. The county will look at everything that they do when they submit their plans. They have to comply with all the codes. If they don't comply, I think county has enforcement methods that you can access. But as far as we saw anything for the code, we didn't see any violations that you brought up. And the county didn't see any violations. So that's just a statement I want to make. And thank you for your statement. Thank you for being here. Carl?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Steele, I just have one question. Did you mention something about a well?
Yes,
What did you mention?
I said, the building by code have to be, at least 100 feet away from the well, which meant this is one reason why, my home is further up the hill there. It couldn't be any closer down. It has to be as far away from that doggone well as we can get it without getting into any trouble.
So, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Steele, maybe to ease the mind, I may be wrong here, and I'm going to ask for staff's assistance here, but as I understand it, the 100-foot is from a septic system, not from a home. And so I don't think there's anything in code that requires a well to be 100 foot away from a home. Does staff have any?
You are correct, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Steele, just so that there's no reason that the home can be placed closer than 100 foot to the well without any violation. It's a septic system that cannot.
Well, we're definitely met that as well, but this was just the language I heard as the building was being built. That's all I'm sharing with you. I'm not a attorney or contractor or anything like that, but the best of my knowledge with regards to here. And sir, yes, I heard you definitely well, and talking to my friends, doctors, legal friends, they say, Ralph, yes, that's the code, just like what you just said. And I can't go against that, but that's why I said what I said with regards to racism. This was the only reason why I wanted to be present here. That should be looked at.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Steele? If not, yes, Jordan?
I was just going to let you know that John Lovato is online and he would like to clarify a couple
Oh,
statements.
yes. People online. What was the person's name?
John Lovato, he's at the office because he had another meeting at 10, but he'd like to clarify a couple statements.
Okay. Can you put him on our
Mr. Chair, I'm
computers,
not sure
or
if I
is he
need to
on
be
the phone?
sworn in, but I can do so if needed. But in regards, I just want to clarify a few issues. When we adopted the code in 1981, several amendments were made. And part of the plating process required us to identify buildable area. Now, a lot of the surveyors identified small portions of buildable areas. That's not to say the entire site was not buildable. So jumping back to the new ordinance, which is the SLDC, and clarification for Chapter 71733, the administrator may approve an alternative buildable area upon proof compliance with the requirements of the SLDC are met. So that's one clarification I wanted to put. So him moving this open space is fairly legal, and that's why it was done administratively. For clarification to Mr. Trujillo's or Commission Member Trujillo's chimney assessment, we do allow a 3 foot above the natural height of the actual structure. And so that 3 feet was to accommodate for heating systems, cooling systems, chimneys, so on and so forth, and solar. As far as Mr. Steele's statement on viewpoint, the code does not address anything on any kind of viewpoint that affects any neighboring properties. Yes, we do take into account. Yes, we ask people to reach out to various members of the community, but that's not a requirement to do so. That's just a suggestion, just so that way the development runs smoothly. And you're absolutely right. The septic system needs to be 100 feet from any existing well, whether it's a neighboring property or their own property. So I just wanted to make some of those clarifications so that the board could understand that. And I'd stand for any questions if you had any, but I just want to make some clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I see no questions. Now, is that the only person with the public hearing?
Yes, Chairman, there is nobody else wishing to speak online.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed.
Sir,
Mis-
excuse me.
Yes,
My neighbor's here, one of my neighbors is here, and she would like to voice
okay,
something.
well,
Is-
please step forward.
Is that okay? Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Is it okay if I sit down?
My name is Theana, oh, sorry. I'm at 22 Luna de Tano. I think from my point of view, my main consideration was that when Mr. Sidebottom was approached, he was very hostile, wouldn't answer any questions, which was sort of alarming for myself and Ralph and some of the other neighbors. And I don't think it would have gotten to this point had there been some sort of a dialogue. And I'm very new to the area, have a small house, it's my primary residence. And I guess I didn't quite understand that when the original plats were made, there was, I thought consideration was given to the best spot for a house, given drainage and soil preservation and all that kind of stuff. It's clear from the comments that were just made that they were somewhat arbitrary. So, you know, the concern about moving it to preserve this land isn't as much of a concern for me now. But well, I guess that's all I wanted to say. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. If there are no other persons, we close the public hearing, and I think Mr. Summers has the last word.
Just briefly, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I think, Mr. Chairman, you hit the nail on the head. There is no violation of code. That's what this is about. We know, as I've gone through, what it's really about, but there is no violation of code. What has happened here has been an upgrade in the county's information on these plats because of the new code, and this appeal should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers.
Can I ask one question of you, Mr. Summer? Who is Mr. Mylar or Mrs. Mylar? It says on the conditions, water conservation covenants must be signed and submitted. Oh, with Mylar. Okay, never mind. On Mylar, okay,
I
never
was
mind.
going to say, that's,
I got it, okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Summers.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next item, I guess, we have a discussion on this case. What are the wishes of the committee?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if there's no discussion.
Yes, we're ready for a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for denial of the request for an appeal and approval of case 24-3013 with the plat amendments that are shown here on the staff report of the following conditions 1 through 4.
Thank you. Wendy, you second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm not interested in sending a message to Mr. Steele. I understand this is relatively confusing. The fact that the county used to require people to draw polygons on their property, and it's a relatively confusing situation. And as the neighbor, and I'm sorry I forgot your name, mentioned, you would think that there was some requirement that they accommodate the topography. Evidently, that's not the case. So this is not about sending the message. I do believe that the applicant is justified in requesting to realign the open space on their property, but I think this is just one of those unfortunate things where it's a relatively confusing process that maybe got some neighbors off on the bad foot. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Eric. We have a motion and a second. What are the wishes of the committee? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I guess it's unanimous. This appeal is denied. There is a remedy for you. You can appeal it to the Board of County Commissioners. But thank you very much. Do we have any petitions from the floor? I see none. Do we have communications from the commission members? I have a communication. I want to thank the committee members or the commissioners for their service, and it's a pleasure serving here with you. And I hope we continue this. Communications from the attorney?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to ask staff if, I understand that there's a new land use administrator who will be beginning at the end of the month, and I wonder if it's possible to see if she is able to come and introduce herself to us at our next meeting. I know she's your boss and you can't tell her what to do, but I'm sure you could. I think we'd appreciate hearing from her. Thank you.
Chair, Commissioners, she's actually, at the moment, she will not be land use administrator. I'm currently the land use administrator and will be until the county manager reappoints her or keeps me. So she is the director, and yes, she starts on the 29th of July, so we will have her come to the meeting in August so we can introduce her to y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Are any matters from the land use staff? I think.
Just to give you all kind of an update, AES was supposed to submit this week. They are a couple weeks behind. They have requested a pre-submittal meeting the week of the 29th. We will have a meeting with them. They are looking at submitting probably mid-August. So that's looking like December before it comes to y'all. Yep.
December, that's it?
Yep.
That's a little late. Our terms are up. That's okay. The next regularly scheduled meeting is August 15th. Is that correct, Eric? August 15th? I assume it's August 15th, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
I move this meeting be adjourned. Thank you very much.